Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go.
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno and Nick.
What it do? Welcome to the QTB podcast. We're so glad you could join us. My name is Bruno, and with me, as always, is my childhood friend and co-host, Nick Lavender Gooms. How are you doing, sir?
Ooh, lavender is not only a delightful color, but also a delightful scent. I am fantastic, Bruno. Happy to be here with you on this episode 10. We are officially in double digits, my friend. How about that?
Wow, 10 episodes in, and before we get started, I just wanted to say happy belated birthday, sir. It was your birthday last week. What was that, Monday? And so I didn't get to wish you a happy birthday on the last podcast because we had a special guest on, Justin, and there was so much going on that it just slipped my mind. But I wanted to just say happy birthday, sir. How was it? How old are you now?
Oh, do I have to say?
No, you can just give us. Just give us a roundabout.
I know our audience. It's fine. Yeah, 33. There you go. The old Trey. Yeah. You know, it's a good feeling. I know we had a little bit of a, just it's a pandemic. We're not going anywhere. So, and we had a huge snowstorm that passed through on that day. So we just kind of bunkered down. Had me a Boston cream cake. That was nice.
Is that
you can't go wrong.
So is that your do you do the same thing every year for your birthday in terms of like a Boston cream cake, or do you just try to do something different every year?
I mean, I'm gonna be doing a Boston cream cake from now on because it was friggin' delicious. That's
what
I know.
That's the tradition now. Now it's part of the family. We've got to do it every year.
Yeah. She was like, "Oh, we can get this farmer's market to deliver, or like the Dutch market to deliver because they gotta make money somehow in the pandemic." And I'm like, "Oh, great! They have a Boston cream pie because I've always wanted, to just get a whole Boston cream pie." And she's like, "Oh, they have Boston cream cake." I'm like, "Huh?" Okay, well, it's freaking delicious. But thanks, man. It's awesome that we got to. Like I said, 10 episodes and counting for both of us here. And I do want to say to our listeners, first of all, to each and every one of you, thank you so much for listening to this podcast.
Yes,
you guys make this 100%. It's every time I look at our numbers for the podcast and one more person listens, I'm just humbled of wow, someone's taking time out of their day to add us to their routine. And with all the many podcasts out there, thank you guys so much for making us a part of your routine. And if you could, please, we are asking if you are, whatever platform you listen on, if they allow for reviews, please, if you could, leave a review because that helps us get a little bit more exposure.
Definitely.
And will help other people to also check out what we have going on here with the QTB podcast. If you could, especially I think on Apple Podcasts, there's a quick and easy way on iTunes to leave that review. So if you could, that would be amazing. And what else you got for us, Bruno?
Yeah, well, we have a great episode in store for everyone today. But before we get started, today's podcast was sponsored in part by Pierce Unlimited. For marketing media that works and bespoke design to power your business, visit pierceunlimited.com. So I really just want to talk about my favorite new obsession, and that is Lego. I started watching Lego Masters, and I've always been into Lego since I was a kid.
Right.
But I tell you, with all the licensed content that they have now in the Lego world, it's hard not to find something that everyone can enjoy. They've got the new Mario world things out where you can move Mario around. And for Christmas, I got the NES, the big NES cartridge, console and TV, which is amazing.
I saw that, yeah.
But they recently announced, what is it, Sonic the Hedgehog?
Correct, yeah. So the big announcement was that Sonic the Hedgehog's Green Hill Zone is going to get its own Lego set. And it's really cool because the system that was used in order to basically greenlight this to actually get made, and I hadn't heard of this before, but now I'm definitely paying attention to it, is something called the Lego Ideas Program.
Yeah.
With the basic concept being that anybody, that is a Lego builder can come up with, which is all of us, let's be honest, we're all Lego builders, it can come up with these concepts on this website for different franchises or just a really cool idea for a Lego set that maybe not necessarily is tied to any kind of franchise. And you put it on there, and then people can discuss it and vote for it. And if you get enough people, I think the magic number is 10,000 people to basically say, hey, I want that.
Yeah.
Then it will actually go across, the Lego ideas guys, his desk to decide if it's
Lego.
something that can be Mr. Lego, maybe Will Arnett himself, to decide if it's a set that can either, can happen. Well, I'm sure there's all sorts of legal loopholes to jump through with getting the franchise approval and whatnot, but licensing. But this is a really cool idea. Had you heard of this Lego Ideas program before this article came out?
Yes, so I have, back when I started really getting into Lego and seeing all of these new bundles and sets pop up, I noticed that they were posting a lot of things that might come up, or that, just like you had said, that people have put together. And one of the first ones I saw was Stranger Things. There was a Stranger Things crossover that somebody had created like the upside down. It was like Will's house and then the upside down right underneath of it. And that got turned into a Lego set. So I have heard of it, but I was really, really surprised to see Sonic on the list, because I was a Sega Genesis kid growing up. Like, I did have Nintendo as well, for all the Nintendo fans out there. But I think, being born in the late 80s, 87, 88, you probably had Sega Genesis. It was definitely marketed towards us and older crowds too, which was really interesting about Sega, because they hooked everybody in with the character of Sonic, to be like, we got to have a Sonic character. But then they also had more intense games, Road Rash or any of those. So
Primal Rage.
Yeah. Oh man, that even sounded intense. Those were the games that scared moms in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know
They were
about
getting on
this
committees.
one, David. I don't know,
Yeah.
David. This might be too intense for you, because it's got a lot of blood in there. Do you see it says rated T for you're not a teenager, David?
Exactly. Well, it was a Sega console that caused the first really big backlash that I think actually made it to the House or Senate, one of those briefings where they bring people in just to discuss things. And it was that game Night Trap for the Sega. I think it was Sega CD.
Sega CD?
Yeah, it was that FMV game where you had to help these girls who were having a slumber party dodge these I'm vampires that were trying to get them, and it was all live action acting.
Oh, okay. I'm looking it up right now. Okay, I'm looking it up, and
it's so cringy.
It looks like an interactive horror movie, B-rated horror movie. There's pixelated. They took pixelated versions of actual scenes, and maybe this was is this the very first DVD, Nick?
I mean, the Sega CD was way ahead of its time. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, they were putting full motion video sequences. I mean, the PC was doing things like that too. I don't know if Night Trap was the first game, but...
And just so you're aware, for all of our listeners out there, every single picture and this isn't just a ploy to get you to go run to our website, because we'll be putting these on quitthebuild.com, but nearly every picture that you see is girls in some type of sports bra or getting out of the shower in some type of negligee, because that's what they knew would bring in the viewers of these older gamers, or trying to get maybe teenagers to get in on the gaming scene. And this hit all the buttons of 80s / late 80s / early 90s B-rated horror movie. I can't believe it's a video game. we've got to see a playthrough of this. There's got to be somebody.
They did a remaster of it recently. I think there was a Kickstarter to bring it back, but
there's a remaster of it. Somebody was we need this this needs to be in 1080p, because this is
right away.
It's not enough.
Yeah, but no, the whole reason why I bring it up is because that there during that year, I think that was the whole reason why the ESRB was founded, to rate games, was because these games were coming out and there was no real warning. So I guess you can partly thank Sega for that.
Hey,
but,
thank you,
yeah,
Sega. Appreciate that.
Their whole quest for characters with Toad like Sonic the Hedgehog, led down a very different path.
The only character that really had Tood in the 90s was Conker, like Conker's Bad Fur Day. Do you remember that?
Oh,
like,
my goodness.
That was Nintendo trying to be Sega, I think. Like they were like, we need something that's gonna entice the same crowd that likes Night Trap. Obviously, Night Trap was a banger everywhere. We all know Night Trap now. So we need something to compete, and Conker's Bad Fur Day shows up. So
I mean, within the first 15 minutes, you encounter the villain, the Great and Mighty Pooh, who's just a giant turd. So yeah,
a giant turd. That's what that whole game was. It's just a giant turd. No, I'm just. Actually,
I mean,
they did a remaster of it. Rare Replay came back and they decided that the world needed to experience Conker's Bad Fur Day again. And so therefore we're all blessed to be able to play it on Rare Replay again. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I want to say I got through maybe like 2 hours of it before I was just like, I can't. Like it's in hindsight, it's just trying so hard to be irreverent, and like that was the whole essence of Sega's quest. And it's going all the way back to what we're talking about here with Sonic. That's kind of the birthplace of it, is that iconic character that his whole motif is about fighting, not necessarily fighting the system, but just being rebellious, being cool.
Just gotta go fast.
You have to go as fast as possible. Otherwise, what's the blast processing for, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. Now, I found it especially interesting that one of the reasons, or what the actual set itself, this article claims that it's based on the Green Hill Zone, not from the original Sonic the Hedgehog, but from Sonic Mania that came out several years back at this point. But did you ever have a chance to play Sonic Mania?
I don't know that I have. I think I wanted to play that. That was the remake. It wasn't a remake, so to speak, as it was like an up, like it got a facelift. It's essentially the same platform style that we're all used to, but with new improved levels that weren't quite the same. Is that correct?
Exactly. You can basically play Sonic Mania on almost any platform you can think of now, and you can get a pretty good deal on it. It's one I highly recommend, because what had happened was that, over the last 20 years, especially the last decade, well, I'd say as early as 2006 with Sonic 06, the legendary disaster of a game, that the Sonic franchise kind of lost its way, and it kept trying to find a way to make 3D Sonic work. At no point, I guess, did Sega ever think, hey, maybe we should go back to our roots and really explore, a true kind of Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles style platformer again, which is what fans of the franchise were really, really yearning for. And so there was a guy by the name of Christian Whitehead that he created a remaster of the Sonic CD for that Sega CD, which we were just talking about with Night Trap. And, very few people had a Sega CD because you had to have a ton of add-ons for the Sega Genesis to even play it. You had to have the 32X for the Genesis, and then the Sega CD got slapped on top. It was just this Franken console.
Are you sure? I thought the Sega CD was its own separate console that came out.
No, the Sega CD was an attachment. It was not its own thing. Now they did come out later.
I see. Sega Saturn is what I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you are correct. So yeah, I'm looking at a picture right now. Yeah, Sega CD was this monstrosity somebody just. Which is so interesting, because we were just talking about the Sony PlayStation, the Nintendo Sony PlayStation, let me rephrase that, and how that was kind of this hybrid cartridge disc console. This is essentially, Sega was doing the same thing, but they were all upgrading it, so it wasn't a separate thing. They were just add on. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, Sega 32X did not work 90% of the time. It was ridiculously hard to get situated. There were these metal clamps that came with it that looked like I don't know, something that you might put in your mouth at the dentist to try and pull your cheeks apart. And you had to put those in first because apparently the cartridge, the 32X cartridge, wasn't thick enough to hit the walls of the whatever, so it needed this metal clamp for support or just style. I don't know. It didn't function either way, so it's not like it was integral to the whole system. But then you had to like stick it on top, and the thing was, regular Sega games couldn't be played in the 32X. So if you had a 32X cartridge, you could play it in the 32X, but you couldn't play regular. You had to take the 32X out and then put so it was so hard to get set up that it wasn't something that you could just like easily plug in like the Game Genie and just be like, here we go, about to play some Virtua Fighter, because that's the only reason I got a 32X was to play Virtua Fighter. I can't even play it, Nick.
Yeah, I mean that game was that game was ahead of its time. But yeah, it's so what I was saying with the Sega CD was there was a very limited lineup of games that actually came out for it because it lost momentum so quickly. It was kind of dead on arrival. But Sonic CD was a really, really cool game, and it had a lot of unique mechanics that other Sonic games didn't have, and a fantastic soundtrack. So this Christian Whitehead guy basically makes a proposal to Sega of like, hey guys, I'm really good at like making retro, style games, and I think there's a market for people that really want to see Sonic CD kind of remade and have a chance to play a game that's so hard to play right now. Even emulation can't really get it right.
Yeah.
So Sega, like they liked what they saw and they took a chance on this guy. And I mean that this was a way before Sonic Mania that he created. I think it's Christian Whitehead Studios, and that remake of Sonic CD or remaster is a fantastic game to play. I still come back to that on my smartphone every now and then. So he already kind of established some credentials with Sega early on. So after more kind of mediocre games, and I think it was that Sonic Boom game that came out where they like tried to change the appearance of Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and like elongated them. Have you seen that?
I don't think I have.
Well, you're gonna want to punch that into Google. Sonic Boom.
Sonic.
Yeah, it was a TV series and it was also a video game thing, and they were trying to like reinvent Sonic, and it was not good.
Well, surprisingly, when you type in Sonic Boom on Google, the Wikipedia page comes up about the sound associated with Shockwave. So it's a lot of planes and then one little thing about Sonic. But I clicked on it and this is where he went. This is where he decided to be Drake from Uncharted, right?
Basically.
Like he was just like, I want to be Uncharted Sonic and be all cool. They all had wraps. Apparently they didn't have socks or gloves.
Right.
So they all wore bandaged wraps up their hands. Yeah. He's got a scarf on, a brown scarf. He's rocking. And Tails has on goggles, which is good because he kind of flies around. And a wrench.
Yeah.
And a wrench. I don't know what he's fixing, but he's got one.
As you can see, they were trying for something different, but it was a colossal flop. Both the TV show and the game. The game is its own special level of Sonic flop, and that's saying something. And at that point in Sonic's lifespan, like they were really looking for a hit, and I think they made the right call because they reached out to Christian Whitehead and they're like, "Hey, man, we really want to do not like a remake of Sonic 1 or Sonic 2 or Sonic 3. Like we want a new like retro style classic Sonic game." And we want you to run that project. And it was to this day, I still think it's one of the best decisions that Sega ever made to try and get Sonic back on track, because Sonic Mania is such a beautiful game. It's a love letter to those classic Sonic experiences, and and that's why I wanted to bring it up for the article, is because they mentioned that the Green Hill Zone is also in Sonic Mania, and it is the first two stages of Sonic Mania. The first is Green Hill Zone, and there's such cool instrumental remixes in there that every now and then I'll pop it back on just to play the acts 1 and 2 of Green Hill Zone to listen to them. And also Chemical Plant Zone from Sonic 2 is the second zone in that. After that point, they kind of go off in their own direction.
That soundtrack, oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Every time, so fun fact, apparently Michael Jackson had a hand in making the soundtrack of that, and it slaps. So I completely understand that, bro, because I am like, why didn't we play this at my middle school dance, right? Like we didn't have dances in middle school. That was a joke because we went to a very conservative Christian school, and everyone knows that dancing leads
it's a 5-letter
to
word.
sex.
Yeah.
It's a 5-letter.
We don't
do that here.
Our entire school experience was the story of Footloose. Dancing is forbidden. I mean,
it really was.
Like, it's not an exaggeration.
Footloose. That was our school. That was our school. We went to the Footloose school.
Yeah. I mean, that was brutal. You got out before we got to that year, but we didn't have a prom. Prom was also a 4-letter word. We had a banquet. Senior banquet, and you would go, and I mean, Bruno, it was depressing. I mean, you just kind of like came in with your date and sat down and had some dinner, and then maybe some things happened, and that was it.
It was like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but with no comedian.
Yeah.
With no comedian. You're just like, why are we all here? This is terrible.
Trevor Noah's not going to pop up and be like, wow, how about this? No.
Wow, how about this?
Yeah.
And the platter, not nearly as good. Not nearly as good.
But yeah, it was a really cool game experience, and one that I recommend to anybody that enjoyed classic Sonic in any capacity, especially because you can get the game for such a steal of a price these days. But very cool to see Sonic the Hedgehog kind of get his due in the Lego world. Now, I will point out that this is not the first time that Sonic the Hedgehog has appeared in a Lego set. Bruno, do you know what the first one was?
Tell me, Nick, what is the first time he appeared in one?
He first showed up in Lego Dimensions. That was that Toys to Life thing that Lego did kind of at the height of the Skylanders and Amiibo craze. Yeah, when Lego tried to cash in. So he actually has his own figure, and I don't think there was much more than just the figure, because their whole thing with Lego Dimensions was just kind of a little basic set that they went off in some really wacky directions with Lego Dimensions, man. Like, there was like a Scooby-Doo set, like a Back to the Future set, like almost any decade of like animation you can think of, there was like some kind of representative from that, but that whole thing failed very quickly. I remember seeing that, even as someone that was an avid collector of Amiibos, that was kind of in on the whole Toys to Life craze, and being like, I don't think that one's gonna stick around.
This isn't for me, Mom and Dad, as young Nick would say. I'm gonna need a little more than just action, man, to get me interested in begging my parents to go to Toys R Us. Okay, commercial.
Yeah.
So that's just a throwback for our longtime listeners. There, we do some callbacks to previous episodes, as always. So that seems like a great stopping point for right now. So I think we have some words to say about some stuff. You know, Nick, it seems like we're really in the golden age of podcasting. These days, you can find a quality podcast for just about any topic you can think of.
That's right, Bruno. And a big reason for that is the convenience and versatility of Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast just like ours.
For sure. Anchor has built-in tools that let you record and edit your podcast from your computer or even your phone. And they even distribute your podcast for you automatically to Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more.
And not only is it 100% free with no strings attached, but you can start making money with your podcasts from day one. Literally everything you need for a successful podcast is all waiting for you with Anchor.
Just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
And hey, we're back, and I have, unfortunately, some news that is a little sobering that did happen on Thursday. You may have heard about this, Bruno. The news broke that Robert A. Altman, who was the founder and CEO of Bethesda, which is certainly a massive video game developer, passed away at the age of 73. And, they didn't give too many specifics about the cause, but rather, just kind of a celebration on Twitter and beyond happening for kind of the life of a visionary for such a massive game studio that shaped so many. We were before the show, we were just talking about some of the franchises, and the ones that popped up for me were Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, and then you started naming off some more like Doom, and I'm like, oh yeah, that one, and it just like hit after hit after hit. What were some of the most memorable game franchises for you that came from Bethesda?
Definitely, I think Doom and Quake, those, and Wolfenstein, any of the first-person shooters, I think that Bethesda has created have really impacted all first-person shooters that we see. And it's a testament to Doom, especially, is this testament to just raw computing power now. Like it's just associated with high graphics cards and fast processing and 240 frames a second, and it's amazing to see. So to see something like Doom being played, I've seen it played on a Samsung TV or something like that. It was like an appliance, like some type of household appliance, to being the epitome of what a graphics card can do is pretty amazing. So that is a legacy that anyone should be proud of, and the impact on gaming is going to be seen for forever. So kudos, Robert Altman. Thank you for your contribution. I mean, what would we do without these games? Like, Quake kind of paved the way for a lot of competitive online games. Doom was probably, right? Like, I don't think there was another. I think it is the first-person shooter game. So those in and of themselves are just huge impacts to the way games were developed and created. And I'm a big first-person shooter guy. Like, I love Halo. I loved GoldenEye 007. And we wouldn't have been anywhere if it weren't for the original Doom. Yeah. So amazing, absolutely amazing to see where it's come and to see what somebody can do in the span of, however long he was in the gaming industry. Right. I mean, he only lived to 73, so his Doom came out in the 90s, right?
So the original Doom came out in 93. It's worth noting that Doom itself, it wasn't created by Bethesda. It was rather it was published. Of course, John Carmack and John Romero were kind of the visionaries behind the Doom franchise. But Bethesda has really ushered it along through the ages to make it more than just a memory in the past. Of a great first-person shooter experience, because about
publishers push out games.
Yeah. Oh no. Hey, it's that's nothing to sneeze at, right? Like you got to have them. You can't have one without the other, a developer and a publisher. So it's very cool to see the direction that Doom has come into in recent years. Games like, of course, Doom Eternal, that really did a good job of capturing the essence and the speed of Doom. I think that gaming in general really needed kind of a callback to that. I think shooters as a whole kind of slowed down in the 2000s and 2010s and became more methodical, you know what I mean? More of a Halo style game. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. But, there was definitely something missing of that classic Doom style where walking in the game was like power running. I mean, it was just the speed and momentum that you could pick up was just insane.
It felt like a video game. I think you're right. Like, we've experienced so many games that have tried to pull us into this immersive world and say, hey, we're going for realism here, instead of just making you this BA soldier running and gunning, balls to the wall, with a BFG, a big freaking gun, tearing up demons from hell. Let's go. What are we doing?
I think for a lot of people that enjoy that style of game, there probably isn't a more like cathartic release of just stress than to play that style of game where it's just unbridled carnage and just completely unapologetic about what it's trying to be. I've been playing through Doom 64 because they did do a re-release of that game, kind of remaster. That I'm playing it on Stadia, but you can get it on many platforms for like a couple bucks. And what a value, because I mean I'm just having a blast going back through and re-experiencing that game from my childhood, which I could not beat as a kid. So I'm kind of glad I get another chance to to get through that. But, and look, we've just spent the last, like 10 minutes talking about just one franchise that Bethesda has a hand in. And that speaks so much to the legacy of Bethesda. I remember, I didn't get a chance to play any of the games in the Fallout series until about, I want to say, 7 or 8 years ago. I remember in high school, I didn't really have a whole lot of PC games or have a lot of knowledge about like what good PC games were. And I remember I had a friend from school that we went over to his house once, and he had Fallout 2 on his computer, and he was playing it. And I remember just watching what he was doing, and just, it was insane. Like, he was going up to like random like hobos in this like wasteland and like punching them and like getting stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? He's like, whatever I want. And I'm like, whoa, back up, buddy. That's not how video games work. Like, I'm a Mega Man guy. Like, I pick a stage and go from left to right. There's no choices here.
Yep.
And, and then I realized and did more research and found out what an incredible series Fallout was, and so ahead of its time for its ability to let you really carve your own path through a game based on how you wanted to build a character and do you want to go through it's crazy. Like, the original Fallout, you can go through the entire game without ever killing a person. You can go that full diplomacy route and like talk your way through situations and get to the same ending as if you just went in guns blazing without asking questions. That's so cool. Like, that the games, up until that point,
I feel like that
would
be my real life thing too. Like, that would be something that I want to feel like I would be the guy that would be running and gunning with a sword and like, the big buff dude. But honestly, I would be the guy that tried to talk my way out of every situation and be like, you know what? I probably don't need that. You can have it. Take it. Take it. Yeah. It's all yours. It's all yours. Yeah. Hey, do you want a Snickers bar? Because I have one in my bag. We could split it. If you're hungry, that would be me. That would be me. Like, if there would be no, Sears police get down on the ground. There would be none of that. It would all go out the door. So I agree. I think, we talk about being a visionary and talk about Bethesda, but this to be a co-founder of a company that has decided to take a chance on a new medium like video games is incredible, because if you know anything about the history of video games, and you know that after the video game crash of like the late 80s, nobody wanted to invest in gaming anymore. That was a stupid endeavor. And so it's almost surprising that we still have video games to this day, because it was that bad. Like, it was that bad, people, investors, and you think Game Stonks was bad. This was horrible. Like, everyone was pulling out. Nobody wanted to fund video games anymore, because in the late 80s, they just cranked them out. They were just like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Yeah. Anybody with, they just opened the door, essentially, kind of like Netflix, and they're just like, if you've got an idea, you've got a Netflix show. Call 1-800 Netflix shows. That was,
we'll take 20.
We'll take 20. Yes. So.
Oh my gosh. An interesting story about. I moved out here to an area that's actually very close to Bethesda. What was Bethesda, now it's ZeniMax, where their studios are based in the United States. They have, I think, one other location in, I want to say Montreal, somewhere in Canada. And I didn't realize how close I was to their studios until one day we were at a real estate agency closing on our new house. Of course, this is a long, boring process. I've signed my papers. Krista's signing her papers. And I pop on because, it's like 2016. What am I doing? I'm playing Pokemon Go. What are you talking about? Whatever I'm doing. Am I sleeping? I'm playing Pokemon Go. Am I pooping? I'm playing Pokemon Go.
Nope.
Well,
you're lucky that you could play Pokemon Go when you poop, because there's nothing around me.
That was a whole different problem. We had, like, if I was lucky, I get like one like Pidgey outside. I'm like, yeah, give me that Pidgey.
You should just have made your toilet like a
Pokestop,
a public spot. Yeah, Pokestop.
You think people
like,
didn't try that because they did? I have reviewed. I have an account that qualifies to like review other people's like submissions for what are called portals, but they become Pokestops. And yeah, all the time people are like trying to submit like, oh, my dog or my porch or my TV or like this lawn gnome. And like, and like I have to be like, no, rejected. Yeah, like, and like in the comments, it'd be like, pretty please approve this. I don't have anything else in the area because like if it's not like a historical landmark or like a natural feature, and because of the lawsuits that they had with people going on in their people's backyards. But yeah, so it's, in other words, I was always playing this game even when I wasn't playing this game. And so we're sitting there and we're closing on this. There's this big window out front that kind of oversees this kind of office park area. And I look that there's a Pokestop nearby, and I go to spin it. And the Pokestop is this giant suit of power armor from the Fallout games. And I'm like,
oh,
shut the front door. Like, what? Why? Either there's someone like set up a fraudulent stop, or there's something here I don't know about. How could I be this close to like this awesome like life-size suit of power armor from Fallout? And then I look up, and there it is right in front of me, the Bethesda. I'm fanboying out, like in the middle of this like super somber, like the other person's there that's selling, and we're buying, and like supposed to be focusing on the papers, and I'm like, Krista, that's Bethesda.
That's Bethesda. That's where they make the games.
But yeah, it was so cool to be like just in the general vicinity. Of course, we drove by and everybody had like Fallout like bumper stickers and all that kind of thing. You could tell the people that were working there were geeking out just as hard as I was. And so it's so cool that even though in recent years they've kind of fallen into some turbulent times with just making some weird calls. Fallout 76 left a bad taste in a lot of gamers' mouths.
Yeah.
It's a game that I've played very heavily, but that I waited until long after they ironed out a lot of those launch day issues. And even with those kind of misses, and seeing that the Microsoft buyout is probably going to help keep them a little more accountable and I think focused and on track to release consistent and quality games like we're seeing with that Indiana Jones announcement. I think that Bethesda and ZeniMax has a lot of story left to tell. I think that the legacy of Robert Altman that he left behind with all these just groundbreaking series, like we haven't even talked about Elder Scrolls. I mean, think about what the Elder Scrolls series, it's funny you talked about like trying to run Doom on a fridge. They were running Doom on, there was a recent news article where someone got Doom working on a pregnancy test. I wish I was kidding. That it was like a little matrix display and they plugged it in and it's like what the whole game is like, what can you run Doom on? And the same thing is true of Skyrim, right? Like it seems like every year we get Skyrim on a new device or remastered or in VR, and just even though it's kind of like a meme status at this point, how much Skyrim has been remade and remastered and re-released. It's a testament to just what a groundbreaking and awesome concept of a game that Skyrim is, that to this day we can still be wanting to replay it and modding it and experiencing it on different platforms. Have you had much experience with Skyrim?
I haven't, but you mentioned ZeniMax, and it said that Altman was also the co-founder of their parent company, ZeniMax, which was purchased by Xbox. Mm-hmm. But it said I thought was interesting. Other members on ZeniMax's board include Hollywood producer Jerry Bruckheimer and baseball legend Cal Ripken Jr. What? Cal's in there?
What are you doing, Cal?
What are you doing? And not only this, Altman was married to Linda Carter, who's best known for portraying Wonder Woman in the 1970s television series. So I didn't know that either. That's amazing. Like, it's really incredible to see the network of some of these people that how some of these people are just connected to video games. Somebody that you'd never think was into, on a board, member for a video game parent company, Cal Ripken Jr. out of nowhere. What?
I mean, I guess when he's not playing baseball, he's what can we re-release Skyrim on?
What can we re-release Skyrim? He's the sole reason behind this game. It's his favorite game, and every year he's like, okay, what are we releasing Skyrim on this year, guys? Have we thought about the pregnancy test? Did you see the video I sent you?
I'm just imagining Cal Ripken Jr. being in the board and knowing nothing about games or even caring, but like because he has a stake in it, he has to okay stuff. And so they're talking about like, you know, what they're gonna re-release Skyrim on again, and they're all getting kind of like yeah, and they all turn to Cal at the same time, and they're like, Cal, what do you think? And he kind of scans the room and, you know, deadpan face, and he gets his arms up in a batting stance and swings and says, I think it's a home run. Everyone says, love yay!
It. Yeah, Cal!
Yeah, Cal. That's why you're here.
I just imagine that Cal also just practice swings in the hallway when he's like waiting for the board the meeting to start. He's just in the hallway, kind of like, you know, like golfers do those like crazy little golf swings. He's over there doing his like little bat swing, and he gives this, he kind of just like winks and gives you one of these. But I swear if he does, you know, there's got to be like a cartoon twinkle that comes right out of his eye. Like something hit the light hit his eye.
That's right.
The light hit his eye and it made it twinkle. Did you see? Bruno, it's 9 p.m. The sun's been down for hours. Well, I swear.
He's not even here.
He's not even here.
Yeah. Amazing. But I mean, wow, just franchise after franchise. My God, even Castle Wolfenstein.
Wow.
Like, I mean, and that's one of the granddaddies of first-person shooters. Goes without saying, rest in peace to Robert Altman. And certainly a major legacy. Definitely a sad day in the gaming industry in that regard. So, but on a slightly more upbeat and confusing note, we do have one more article to talk about, which is that apparently Apple is trying to get in the VR game. I mean, Bruno, look, and we'll just say this outright. Both Bruno and myself aren't really big like Apple people, and I'm not trying to say that to diss. You know, if you're big into the iPhones and all that, that's your call. You know, but I mean, and I know at one point, Bruno, you were an Apple guy, right?
Oh man, for so many years I was an Apple fanboy, and then all of a sudden they just started to steadily drop the ball. And I'm not saying it has anything to do with Steve Jobs' death, but it has everything to do with Steve Jobs' death. The quality just started to degrade throughout time, and it became more about getting your money. And I don't like that in companies that's all they're after. Like, I know that's every company is obviously out for your money, but I like when services provide things for fans that fans want and do it in a way that's not price gouging. Right. And that's kind of my beef with Apple, and why I decided to just part ways and build my own PC. And I have not looked back. I have loved every minute of having a PC. It is amazing because I know that everything that I download or every possible plugin or whatever is made for PC first, and very rarely is there something that I can't get because it's a Mac exclusive, because it just doesn't happen. But being with Mac for so long, because I'm a designer and a motion graphic artist, and so for a long time Mac was the de facto like video editing platform, and so I kind of had to be on it. And now with things like Adobe Creative Cloud, that's really taken the forefront in the creative sphere. So I personally don't like Apple anymore. Moving towards the PC, it confuses me as somebody who used to like Apple, why they decided to do this, because I don't understand. Like, first of all, I don't think we need any more VR competitors. Let Facebook do it. Just let them do it. Like, like we don't need like PlayStation doesn't need its own proprietary PSVR. I know they're doing it and it didn't really get off the ground very well, but just let Facebook do the VR stuff and let them tackle it and start supporting games for that instead of trying to develop your own technology, because I can't deal with it. I can't deal with another person coming in, and especially Apple. I mean, now we've got Amazon that's like, hey, we're going to get into the gaming mix, and Google finally came to their senses and were like, we're getting out of the gaming mix, and now Apple says we're getting into the gaming mix. I can't do it. I can't keep up with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a strange announcement. Well, it's not even an announcement. It's a report about what is supposed to be coming, and not all of it's 100% verified as far as I can see. But some people seem to have some knowledge of a product, and you're right about Facebook and Oculus in the sense that the VR market has already kind of hit a point of saturation. Oculus has definitely has the most name recognition in terms of just if you ask anybody to name one VR producer, they'd probably say Oculus, especially with the Facebook acquisition. It's just it's a household name now. Yeah. But even they have had some problems with all of their headsets being successful, and have had to kind of really focus it on the Quest and the Quest 2 because of how successful those headsets have been for them. But you also have other companies like HTC where they've been releasing a lot of headsets, and some of them have been very expensive that really haven't panned out for them the way that they were hoping in terms of just getting people to buy the products, especially when Steam came out and released their headset. It's a very good headset, a lot of people that were playing Half-Life Alyx, they were playing through Steam's offering. And, it's just, especially when you see, so in this article, they're saying that this headset is going to be an 8K display in each eye. So one eye will have an 8K display.
Oh my gosh.
Blasted in front of it. And that they're looking at a potential price tag of $3,000. Now, just off the top of my head, if you're putting a single 8K display in someone's eye, if they actually can pull that off, then it's probably going to cost $3,000. I mean, you're talking about how much an 8K TV costs these days, shrinking it down to a size where you can put it right in front of your eye. If they can even pull that off, I'm very skeptical if that's even possible. But you're exactly right.
I just got a 4K TV. And now they're coming out with 8K. By the time I get that, will be 16K or 32K. I don't know how it works exponentially. So the price point at $3,000 to me is 100% Apple, because they came out with those like $900 wheels. Weren't they like wheels for the Mac Pro?
I think it was just the legs where you could have a stand for it, right?
They were wheels, $700. They were $700 wheels.
Wheels.
For the Mac, it's the Apple Mac Pro wheel kit. $699 on Mac Apple accessories. They're just wheels. That's all they are.
Wow.
Just wheels that go on to the Mac Pro, which the Mac Pro is like $6,000, and it's probably about a $3,000 PC. So that's interesting in and of itself. And then if you wanted to kind of roll around or maneuver around, you've got to be able to afford $700 worth of wheels.
Mobility comes at a cost.
It really does, and I didn't realize it was $700. That's more than like tires for a car. That's ridiculous. That's like twice as expensive as like normal tires for a car, right? So,
but what's crazy is they wouldn't charge those prices if people weren't paying them. Like, enough people are saying like, that's the accessory for me, gotta have it. That like people are willing to. If it was just sitting there with no inventory moving, they'd have to reassess the price.
Yeah, and I think it's probably at this point it's just a matter of brevity the idea of being able to just say, oh yeah, I own the wheels too for it. Like some pretentious D-bag out there is collecting all of the Apple products, thinking they're making a great impression on everyone, when we all know that that's financially irresponsible and very wasteful. You don't need. I could get the same thing out of one of those little scooter things that we used to roll around on our butts in PE.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The ones we all pinched our fingers on. That will work just as well. And I could double as a little scooty thing for myself whenever I wanted to move around. So who's the real winner here, Apple, me or you?
And I had one of those as a kid, and many pinched fingers and skin incidents.
Oh man, those were the times in PE when they broke those bad boys out. You knew it was about to get lit. Like PE was. What'd you do today? Oh man, PE was awesome. We played this game where we rolled around on scooter things on our butts. Yeah. Either that or that little rainbow parachute that every PE teacher had. I don't know why they had that, but where they got it. Right. There's got to be like a sky mall for PE teachers, like PE mall or something like that. So that way they can order all those cool PE teacher stuff.
I'm pretty sure they got the parachute thing from like a tiny circus warehouse, because that's exactly what you would need for a tiny circus is a dome that size.
Is a dome that says, welcome to the tiny circus house. Yeah, I can see that. Or like I said, they literally just stole somebody's parachute, and so somebody's out there, okay, did everybody check their packs?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's why they don't make them rainbow parachutes anymore, because all the PE teachers were sneaking in there.
Exactly, that's true. They wanted them. Yeah. They know. They know.
Oh, boy. So at first when I saw this article, I thought, okay, $3,000 price tag, potentially, according to the report. Maybe they're going to go...
sign me up.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. Get my pre-order in now.
Yeah,
but,
obviously.
It's... The first thing I had to think was this thing has to be made for professional use. There's some kind of business use case. Because, like, for example, the Canon has announced they're making, like, this augmented reality headset, and it costs, like, $30,000. But, like, what it can do is absolutely insane. But it's not meant for personal use. Like, it's very much marketed towards businesses that can, benefit from, like, 3D space creation and that kind of thing. But in this case, here's why I think I know that they're actually intending this for personal use, which is that the story says the headset will feature swappable headbands akin to the Apple Watch wristbands. So the idea is that you can kind of customize and personalize the device, which to me automatically rules out that their aim is to have this be a business-only application. So,
when has Apple ever really done that? Like, have they ever really done that?
Yeah.
So it would be a first if that was the case.
Right. And here's where it gets, I think, especially outrageous. We're talking about a product that probably won't come to fruition at all until like 2022. And again, there's already all these other companies that have such a foothold in the VR space, and who knows what the demand for VR is going to be, even a year from now, in a market where pretty much anybody that wants to just get affordable, accessible, good VR is going to get it through Oculus. The Quest and Quest 2 are such a breakthrough in VR technology. For such an incredible price, like it's hard not to take that option if you're like, hey, I'm in the market for VR now.
Yeah.
So it's where I think Apple is going to have the biggest challenge here. Is not only do you have to sell somebody a $3,000 headset and whatever accessories come with it for God knows what price, but you also have to have a market of games and applications that actually work with your tech, because not you're not going to get access to the Steam VR store. At least I don't think you will. And so even if they do, like these developers, they're not making games that are oriented towards someone that has two 8K displays right in their face. Like they're making it for the guy that has a Quest or a Quest 2 where it's like a 720p display tops, and they're always going to program for the lowest common denominator. And that, I think, is the biggest problem with VR production, is that you're already making games and content for a niche audience. It's very difficult to convince somebody to make a game for a product that, very few people even own or are going to consider buying your game on, and to make like a AAA quality title like, Half-Life Alyx, which is probably the best. That and I think Boneworks have been the two biggest like VR games in a very long time. Who is going to say, yeah, let's sink, countless millions of dollars into Apple's platform, whatever it'll be, to produce games for a hardware that like a dozen people own?
Yeah, I think we might start seeing it in a more educational use. That's like my best guess out there of like why somebody would own this. And I think in terms of an educational usage, you could easily find a way to incorporate that with museum walkthroughs and being able to actually go to these certain locations now with things like a 3D 360 degree camera.
Yeah.
And have these VR experiences of like walking through the Sistine Chapel or the Louvre or whatever it may be, and experiencing it with this VR headset. So in that respect, I would say if that's their aim, if their aim is to just make it purely educational and to start doing things in that way, then we'll probably see it adopted the same way that like an iPad Pro has been adopted, to where it's used by certain professionals, and because of the price point, that'll be enough for Apple to make a profit off of the system itself. But you're right. Who's gonna sit there and say like, okay, you've got these specs that no one else has and this proprietary system that no one else has? It's gonna be very hard to get people on board with that unless they start doing something like they've done before with like the dev kits for apps and stuff like, in that respect, you know what I mean? So I don't know. What gaming company out there is really working on VR stuff to begin with? That's not somebody like EA, or I think like, isn't there a Star Wars VR experience coming up?
And I mean, experience is always the word with that type of game.
Yeah, exactly. Like and that's my point. Like at this point, even the language and thought process behind VR video games is still very much up in the air. It's unknown as to what we're going to even call this. Let's just call it an experience, because it's not really a well thought out game. It's more so things that the system can do. And you've pointed out before that there are some games out there that take really good advantage of the technology, like Beat Saber and whatnot. But those are few and far between. The experiences, the Batman experience and the Star Wars experience. So those to me seem like the Wii Sports of VR. I feel like those should be included with the system that I get, the headset, so that way I can just jump in and like wield a lightsaber. That's the first thing I want to do.
Right.
So you're right. Video game companies and developers aren't even thinking about VR right now. They're solely focused on moving towards a more like a higher fidelity of graphics. So it's interesting that Apple is coming out so late in the game too. Like, come on, we've had the Oculus is working on their second variation, like you said, and the HTC has gone through some upgrades as well. So what are we doing? Why are we so late to the game?
And even the article that we're looking at, talks about how, their take on it is that it very well could be, like you said, more like it's a dev kit that is used to help people kind of work in augmented reality, kind of like that Canon hardware I was talking about. Because this thing is supposed to also have enough cameras that like it will offer, a pretty good AR experience as well as VR experience. And that could be kind of the angle. So it's very possible that we're just missing a very critical component. And remember, this is not an official announcement from Apple. This is just, a report of someone that has, credible information saying, hey, like they're working on something VR. And that's,
They're dipping their hands in it. So,
and it's our job to speculate wildly and assume the wackiest scenario of all, which is Apple and VR with 2 8K TVs right in your face for $3,000.
Which is very Apple. And, it's very QTB of us to talk about something like that. And I just want to say to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. It has been a pleasure, as always. Man, I look forward to each and every podcast. Between each one, I'm like, I'm ready for the next one. I don't know about you, but I get super pumped and I'm ready for the next. I just want to dive in with Nick and just talk about it. And I'm excited, like he said, with every new listener that we get. We are doing amazing things with the website. So be sure to check out quitthebuild.com, where you can find pictures of all the things that we talk about, little articles from some of the other members in Team QTB, like our previous guest Justin has some amazing articles on there about Resident Evil and Shenmue, and man, those are just a delight to read. They just bring back so many nostalgic memories, so that's super exciting. Nick, what do you think?
Well, you're right. It's this is so much fun to do, and it's our listeners that are making that possible, because otherwise we'd just be talking to ourselves twice a week, and I mean it's a nice conversation, but that'd be a little weird, right? So thanks guys so much, and we've got a lot of cool stuff on the horizon, not just on the website, but also some new segments that we've been talking about. Definitely tune into our next episode where I will be interviewing some indie game studios. Over the course of several episodes, we've been talking about trying to help kind of shed a spotlight on those indie developers and the cool games that they've been making. So we've got some select picks that we have lined up, some interviews to learn more about what they've got going on, and that's going to be a fun thing. So definitely stay tuned for that. And like you said, it's been a lot of fun, and can't wait to do it again.
Well, for Nick, I'm Bruno.
And for Bruno, I'm Nick.
Peace out. What it do?